Hey, good Monday morning, and welcome to SportsBeat Live, the post-game show edition of Chiefs Talk with the folks at the Star who cover the team and with you. Please send us your question and comments about the Chiefs' 41-14 victory at the Las Vegas Raiders. And so many of you have joined. So just a shout out to Tommy, Barbara, Todd, um, Andrew, Jacob, Clyde. Hey, thanks for Cole, Larry. Thanks for joining us. So staying up and being here so late at night. We're getting started a little sooner than we usually do after games, but yeah, that's how we like to roll when the Chiefs play at night. So we'll be joined shortly by the gang: Sam Mellinger, Vahe Gregorian, Herbie Tiopi, and Sam McDowell. But let's get the conversation started and talk about uh, this victory that was the best for the Chiefs this season. My question to you is: did you see it coming? Was there anything about the previous two games, the wins over the Giants and the Packers, that led you to believe that they were uh, ready for a 41-point output that included a missed field goal, by the way, and 500 total yards, 406 passing from Patrick Mahomes, along with the five touchdowns? This was absolutely the best version of themselves tonight. So with the win, the Chiefs improved to 6-4. When with all the other AFC West teams losing today, the Chiefs are now in first place. So if the season ended today, they'd be the number 4 seed in the playoffs. This after spending, I don't know, the better part of the last month out of the playoff picture. But now that we're in the second half of the season, the playoff picture is where you want it's where you want to be. So look, uh, they did so many things well, and so many players played well, including so many role players. It's hard to it's hard to know where to start. So fortunately, I made a list, and um, when the star folks get here, we'll talk about it though. But how about this? I mean, you talk about a complete team effort. Of course, Patrick Mahomes to Tyreek Hill, two touchdown passes to get things started, but after that, the touchdown passes went to Noah Gray, um, Byron Pringle, and of course Darrell Williams. Not in that order. Williams was fourth, and Byron Pringles was fifth. Just and with all that, Travis Kelsey had one of his best games, 119 yards receiving in in a few weeks. So you had that on offense. Darrell Williams' game, by the way, best game of his career, 101 receiving yards, 43 rushing yards, 144 passing. I just finished writing a little story about this. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had returned to practice this week after missing the previous 3 games with the MCL injury. He is going to. The Chiefs have a couple more weeks to decide whether to activate him or not, but I don't know. I think after what we saw from Darrell Williams tonight, you guys convinced me earlier in the week that the Chiefs really need Clyde Edwards-Helaire, uh, and and uh, and maybe he would be a little bit of an upgrade, especially in the receiving part. But I don't know how you could have a better game at the running back position than what Darrell Williams produced tonight, especially for what the Chiefs are looking for. Right, targeted 9 times, 9 receptions, and 101 yards receiving, 43 yards rushing. So again, 144 total yards for Darrell Williams. That is just absolutely outstanding work on his part. That touchdown reception, by the way, a thing of beauty. Maybe the play of the night, at least one of the plays of the night for the Chiefs, where he went up and got it from Jonathan Abram and just kind of took it away, wrestled it away on a 3rd and 11, in which Patrick Mahomes was scrambling out of the pocket, moving to his right, and he uh, catches the pass to the left. Basically, throws back across his body and goes left. So incredible play by Mahomes and Darrell Williams there. It was that kind of night. Just like almost everything the Chiefs did work. I say almost because, as I mentioned earlier, Harrison Bucker missed the 42-yard field goal just before halftime, and and there was the Mike Hughes fumble on the punt return. They get a 40-yard punt return, their longest of the season, and and then Mike Hughes gets knocked the ball out of his grasp by the punter of all people, and the Chiefs lose it there. So that's why the game was as close as it was through through the opening drive of the third quarter. Right, Chiefs lead 17-7 at halftime. Raiders have the ball to open up the second half and go right down the field. Right, their best moments of the night. Derek Carr with the long touchdown pass, and all of a sudden it's 17-14. And I'm, I don't know about you guys, but I'm thinking, this is going to be a dogfight all the way to the end, and the Chiefs get a touchdown, and they make it Chiefs get a touchdown. Big sequence I thought though was the fake punt. Again, I've got a list of players who I wanted to make a note to mention tonight. And Darrell Williams, all right, got him checked off. Let's check off Darrell Williams. Check off Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes. So Tommy Townsend, we saw this a year ago. I think it was against the New York Jets, where he threw a pass for a first down, and so it's fourth and 7 from about midfield. The Chiefs had just gotten the ball on I think a turnover at that point, and they were about to squander the possession. So Tommy Townsend takes the snap, and Marcus Kemp, the gunner, lined up at the outside, does basically the stop route where he just turns around, and Townsend throws a strike, and Marcus Kemp turns it into a 16-yard gain and a first down. And that is the possession where Mahomes finishes it with the touchdown pass to Darrell Williams. So just a really important sequence there that made it 34-14. And at that point, I thought that was the game. The Raiders weren't going to come back from that. So all right, so I'm going to check off Tommy Townsend. Noah Gray, his touchdown reception, fourth and goal with the one, and Chiefs couldn't hit. Were having trouble punching it in. I really like the play call, the play action that froze the defense for a moment, but Noah Gray still had to make a quick reaction reception, and he held onto that ball for dear life. That was quite the catch from Noah Gray, and probably not going to get many style points on the spike, but look, first NFL touchdown. At least he has the ball, right? Okay, so we're going to check off him. And Blake Bell. Again, early in the game, it's another fourth down play, 4th and 1, and I love this play call, just as I liked a lot of the play calls early in this game. We talked about in the Giants and the Packers game how the Chiefs would get possession. They first drives went down the length of the field. It ended in a turnover against the Giants, a touchdown against the Packers. Tonight they punt the first. They punt away their first possession, and the defense stops the Raiders, so the Raiders punt it back. But then the Chiefs go down the field, and they're facing the 4th and 1. And Sam Mellinger has joined us. Hey, Sam.
What's up, Blair?
How you doing, buddy?
Doing great.
I'm just going down. Good. I'm just going down a checklist of players that I wanted to identify that I was just scribbling down during the game, and I've already gone through the obvious ones: Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce with his big game, Darrell Williams. We spent some time talking about. What a really nice best game of his career, 101 yards receiving, and that great touchdown reception, which put the game away as far as I was concerned. 20 point. So before we continue, because I've got more names I need to get to here, especially on the defensive side. You had a big picture column about this, I'm assuming, because you're a big picture guy, Sam.
You know me well.
That's right. So share. Do share.
Yeah, so I'm a little bit weirded out that I never really thought about this until tonight, but we spend so much time like, when are the Chiefs going to be back? When can they get back to what they were 2 years ago or last year or whatever? And it just strikes me that they're not ever going to go back to that. which can be a good thing. Like that, it needs to be about what does this team do well, and forget 2019, forget 2020. It needs to be about chasing the best version of themselves here. And I know that some of that gets into like some, I don't know, a little bit too coachy, if I'm being honest, to be completely comfortable. But it just hit me that the way that this team can win the Super Bowl. Like, I'm certainly not saying they're going to. I would not bet on that. But if this team gets to that level of play, it will be in a way that is different, noticeably different to those of us that watch the team closely. It'll be in a way that's noticeably different than the way that they got to the Super Bowl the last 2 years.
Hey, and Vahe Gregorian's join us. Hey, Vahe.
Hey, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear. Loud and clear. So,
Super.
Sam, of course, supplied the big picture, and he made a couple of points I want to address. But yeah, huge. Just but you're doing the huge picture. So
I'm going intergalactic. No, you know what's funny? I totally agree with Sam's point. There's a subtle difference in something I'm trying to get at, and we'll have to peck away at after the show. I agree totally that it's got to be, there's differences. It's not like we're looking at the same thing, but there is that thing about how they make you feel to watch them. That was what felt like the surge tonight, right? What's that, the Maya Angelou quote about people won't remember what you say, but they'll remember how you make them feel?
Yeah.
That's Sam's way of life. Except we remember what he says too. But anyway, that's the thing that struck me. Like, it, not so much that it's the old Chiefs. I think Sam's on a really good point there. But I just think how it felt watching this. You could tell. I'm not sure what play it was, what couple plays it was, but there was something at one point where you're like, and before it was a blowout, where you just sort of sensed that this was, Andy Reid 13-3 against the Raiders coming into tonight, doing what he does.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes doing what he does.
There were two moments for me that felt a little bit like that old feeling of what you're saying, Vahe. And one was like just that YOLO throw to Damian Williams. Like, I mean, just a ridiculous play. Just absolutely ridiculous. Like, who throws a ball like that to their running back in the end zone?
Who's never caught a pass like that, by the way.
Oh, no, yeah, not even close. And then that was the big one. But there was also this moment. I think it was either the second or third quarter, and it was a play action kind of deep slant to Tyreek, who was lined up on the left side, and it was just like, oh right, they used to do that play a lot. That's what it. That's what it kind of looked like. And some of that is, we've been talking so much about the frickin' cover two, like it's the Rubik's Cube that cannot be solved. But the Raiders didn't do a lot of that. It looked like they were a lot of cover one and some cover three. And, they would mix and match a little bit. But I wonder how much of that was opened up because of the way that Gus Bradley's had success against the Chiefs defensively. So this is not me like, saying, oh, why didn't you do the cover two? But I thought that was interesting as well. And the offensive line we should talk about. The offensive line I thought was really good. People can't wait to jump on them when there's a pressure. But Patrick Mahomes did not get sacked. And, there were some pressures, and Orlando Brown, I think, had a penalty. But, God, they were really good. They were really good all night.
Just to amplify that point. Sorry, it doesn't sound like the sound's good now. Does it sound okay?
Yeah, now you're good. Yep.
Okay, yeah. The Raiders, I think, had come into the game. I was trying to look this number back up, averaging 8.5 quarterback hits, something to that effect. And I think they had 3 tonight. And I think that really stands out. And to Sam's point, it really I think the line. I think they're starting to get to know each other better, and all that means it's as much Patrick having to understand whose capacity is what as they have to understand that he's a little different dance partner. The other thing, though, just to go back to Darrell Williams for a second, if that play had not been, that was the one that made it 34-14, I feel like we'd be all over that play if it were like the game-winning one or the one that it separated them, because there was a lot going on there, and Darrell Williams was trying to explain the play in eye contact with Patrick 35 yards down the field, like Patrick steering him here, looking away there. And the catch itself was unbelievable. It was a great catch.
Yeah, took it away. Basically took it away from the safety.
Yeah. And the highlight of the Darrell Williams interview to me was him with the looking at his hands, just going, these hands, they work.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Well, to me, the play was heightened in its importance because that came on right after the fake punt. So just the Chiefs make a big gamble, fake a punt, and they lose a yard, throw an incompletion. All of a sudden, it's 3rd and 11 from a place you're probably not going to kick a field goal. I think they were at the 38, right? And Butker had already missed from 42. So maybe they do try to kick a 55-yard field goal from there, but that's why that to me raises the importance of that play. So let's go back to the offensive line really quick, because you made a good point, Sam. The player I want to highlight, 2 of them. Listen, we know Creed Humphrey and is having an incredible season for a rookie, and Trey Smith is playing well, and Joe Thuney's just the great veteran. But the tackles have come on here lately in the last few games. Orlando Brown had a decent game tonight. And I got to shout out to Andrew Wiley, 3rd-string tackle, going up against Max Crosby most of the night. I didn't realize their paths at Eastern Michigan were exact. They both got there in 2015 and played together for several years at Eastern Michigan. So that was it. He had the one holding penalty, but otherwise, I thought Andrew Wiley did his job to help keep the pressures off of Patrick Mahomes.
That had a chance to be a deal breaker, that matchup. I mean, it really,
yes, it did.
It really did. So you're right. I mean, it was kind of, was it last season that Wiley did kind of a similar deal against New Orleans?
Yes. Yeah, it's a great memory. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Kind of a similar deal, put in a tough situation against a ferocious pass rush and held up pretty well.
Yeah, got a penalty, like an unsportsmanlike penalty conduct against him there, something like that.
Which Blair, go ahead, Sam.
No, go you.
No, just to add to that, that penalty. I think the Chiefs had 4 penalties overall, but I think they just had 2 on offense. And as you look at sort of the comedy of errors that has really held them back, I mean, they had the 2nd most offensive penalties in the NFL coming into this game, 34 offensive penalties. So I think they had 2 tonight. Obviously, they've been plagued by all the offensive turnovers. They had 0 offensive turnovers tonight. I mean, they had the 1 on the punt return. And then I don't think there was a drop pass. Some might have thought
dropped one.
Kelsey. Yeah, he did. That's right. But I tell you what, that's a lot fewer than there have been. And there was something about the rhythm, and that goes back to the line too, but there was something about the rhythm of Patrick in the passing game that I don't know, there was just a lot more sync, and it all starts with the blocking.
Yeah.
I thought one thing with Kelsey, and he obviously had a huge night, but the last few weeks, teams have just basically just mugged him at the offensive line. I mean, borderline and sometimes not even borderline illegal, and just daring officials to call it every time. And I thought that he had a lot of clean breaks at the line of scrimmage. And I don't know enough, obviously, about whether that was just the way that the Raiders were playing. It seemed like they were moving him along the line of scrimmage even more than they usually do. So that might have helped too. But I just thought that made a huge difference in him getting. I mean, he was dancing early when it was still scoreless. I mean, he you could tell he was feeling it early.
But I tell you what, I for some reason I just was isolating him on 1 3rd down play early, and it was completely clean break from scrimmage, as if they didn't know who the guy was. I was really surprised.
Yeah, it's not like he's ever had a good game against the Raiders either. All right, we've gone a long way without talking about the defense, and I bring it up week after week. And so they've gone 17, 7, and 14 in the last 3 games. That's nice. That'll win some games with this team. I'm just going to throw some names out there. You tell me what you guys saw and what you liked. Let's start with Jaron Reed. Got a sack, had a pressure that created the interception by who? Daniel Swanson.
Yeah.
Dirty Dan, absolutely, yes, sir. But all of a sudden, Jaron Reed, who kind of persona non grata for several weeks, getting some pressure. That was pretty impressive, wasn't it? The pressure the Chiefs got on Derek Carr.
I don't remember Jaron Reed's name coming up in anything other than discussions about where is he and how come he's not doing anything before tonight. Not trying to be mean, but he's been inconspicuous to say the least. So that sack in itself was a first, and then that's quite a connection to have Jaron Reed to Daniel Sorensen on that play. That's
right.
Bringing a few things together.
Hey, and Sam McDowell has joined us. Hey, Sam, how you doing?
What's going on, guys?
Yeah, you sound good. We're just going over a couple of defensive guys really quick. It may have been his only tackle. I don't have the stats in front of me, but Melvin Ingram was that tackle he made for early in the game, tackle for loss, where he split a couple of defenders and stopped Jacobs for a loss. That was terrific. And I heard this too. I was listening to the game on the Chiefs radio network, and Josh Klingler, their sideline reporter, said that after the first series, Chris Jones, after the Raiders, may have been the second series, Chris Jones came over and was really animated, and it was Melvin Ingram that calmed him down over there. So, look, it's maybe a veteran move on his part. I don't know what the particulars of that are, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the locker room was closed tonight, so it wasn't like not like we can go there.
Ingram also, they gave him a lot of credit for this in the post game too. Of just the Darren Waller situation did not get out of hand. That could have been another game, deal breaker. And Ingram was, I think everybody was chipping him at the line. They were doing to Waller what teams have done to Kelsey, and that was a big help with throwing off the timing. And then Tyron on the back end with the coverage.
You know who else really stood out, and especially stood out early? He's the first guy Andy Reid mentioned after the game was L'Jarius Sneed.
He was great.
And that, this is a little thing in the big scheme of things, but remember that play early in the first quarter, that tackle he makes on, I think it was Jacobs, stops him short of the first down, and then the Raiders go offside the next play and have to punt. That game is, we all know this. Games take their personality, and maybe it was inevitable the Chiefs would win this, but they needed some things to go their way. And he had a couple other one-on-one tackles that were really impressive and important.
He's been a star. I think people like that watch the Chiefs all the time kind of get it. But I always think about draft position follows a guy around longer than it should. Guys make more money later on in their careers based on where they're drafted. I'm convinced of that. And if L'Jarius Sneed was the 18th overall pick or the 12th overall pick or whatever, I think people would be talking about him a lot more. But he has been a star since the very beginning.
And that you're right about his tackles, open field tackles.
Yeah.
Just great fundamental tackler is what he is, and can be a ball hawk as we've seen that. So, Sam McDowell, what did you end up writing about?
I wrote about the quarterback and kind of a different framing of it than probably what I anticipated going in. But there was just kind of a funny moment in the press conference. I think we all thought, and Vahe mentioned it out loud as we're walking back up, that Mahomes seemed more carefree, I thought, in the press conference than he has in past weeks. He didn't seem like as uptight, even though they had won the past two games. But he mentioned that Shane Buechele, the practice squad quarterback, showed him a video clip where he says, I think I got my swagger back. And if you go back and watch it, because I remember that video he was talking about, but I was like, I think that's been a while. And it's from 2014. And it's a high school kid. on like a local news broadcast, and it's a really funny video. That's why it went viral. Where he says, "I think I got my swagger back," and it kind of steps backwards on purpose. And I guess that Shane Buechele showed that video to Patrick Mahomes this week, and Mahomes candidly told us that's how I felt. He was like, "Hey, that's going to be our theme of the week. We're going to get our swagger back on Sunday." Which I think is just a funny story, but also it suggests more. It's kind of their first admission that they are in a slump, that he has been in a slump. And Andy Reid said something similar. Good old Vahe transcribed the quote for me, where he said that Mike Frazier, their statistical analysis coordinator, had looked up the history of quarterback slumps, and the Mahomes has gone the longest without one. Which is interesting, but I think it's more interesting that it's the first time Andy Reid has told us that his quarterback has been in a slump.
Also interesting that we don't know the criteria of that slump analysis.
What qualifies?
Completely objective. There's only one type of slump.
I think
okay.
one thing that qualifies it from Andy's point of view is that the quarterback has to have had a monster game to get out of it. So then about it. Retroactive.
Right.
That's a quality.
Which is why Andy said after the game they think they can play better. I mean, he can play better, right? 5 touchdowns, 406 yards. He almost had a couple of interceptions, right? I mean, there was a couple of balls that probably should have been picked, but maybe that's
kind of part of it, Blair. I think that's kind of part of it is that we talked a lot about he hasn't been getting lucky. He caught a couple breaks tonight too, so it kind of all fell into place.
And look, I mean, I know this play would have been negated if it had turned out to be a fumble, but we can't not talk about Tyreek Hill fumbling the ball to himself as a little bit of a different way of the ball bouncing than it has. And maybe it's symbolic and maybe it's fleeting, but it stood out to me as like, all right, things seem to be just kind of going their way a little bit. Like they didn't call Mahomes over the line of scrimmage on that pass to Darrell Williams. He might have been over the line of scrimmage. I didn't get a great look at it, but Patrick himself wondered. They had 5, 6, 7 things like that kind of go their way.
You know what didn't go in the right direction tonight was Deshaun Jackson. Did you? Tommy asks about the play that where Fenton punches the ball out of and Honey Badger recovered it. Well, that was Deshaun Jackson's first reception as a Raider, and I don't know if he got confused or what happened there.
Blair, I thought only you'll get this reference. I thought he was going to pull a Jim Marshall there for a minute, and it looked like he got spun around and was heading back. And then at first, I really thought he was trying to lateral it. I didn't see Fenton get his arm there, but there were only Chiefs behind him. It was the really weird part to me was when he circled out of it though. It didn't take the hard angle at the end zone.
Right. Or Jim Marshall or Wrong Way Regals in the whatever bowl game that was.
Vahe, we've all seen the Jim Marshall clip. That one still makes the rounds.
All right, I'm glad to know that even a youngster like you has come across that.
That's right.
We haven't even talked about the left-hand pass. Somebody just asked. Yes, it's true.
The first pass.
I was just gonna say Vahe is right on the. There's like 3 or 4 of these plays tonight that I think this team has had go against them for like 8 weeks. The Tyreek fumble that just bounces right back to him like he's dribbling a basketball. That Tyron play should have been intercepted probably, and it's a turnover anyway, even though the guy catches it. I thought that the Mahomes pass to Darrell Williams, which was probably their highlight play tonight, was severely underthrown to where I think the defensive back was probably in a better place to intercept that. Than Darrell Williams was to catch it for a touchdown. Darrell Williams, by the way, was great tonight. We haven't said that a lot, but he was really funny in the post game.
That's great. Will not be reflected his humor in the story that I wrote about him. However,
no nonsense from Blair.
So Tony asks how many snaps for Josh Gordon. How often was he on the field tonight?
A lot early. He was
Fair
on a
amount.
lot early. Vahe pointed that out, that McCole Hardman was not on the field as often as he usually is, and I think it was at the expense of Josh Gordon a lot.
What about this? Maybe you guys have the stats in front of you. The Chiefs went double-digit plays for at least 3 of their touchdown drives. That's the way they're going to have to score, right? I mean, that's why Darrell Williams caught 9 passes. That's why McCole Hardman had the nice 27-yard gain on the crossing route over the middle, and Tyreek Hill. What did he say after the game? He's not used to 10-yard outs.
12-yard ins.
12-yard ins. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's right. Same spirit, but
Yeah.
but that's
the drives, Blair. One was that you're talking about, 11 for 89, 10 for 58, 13 for 82 on 3 of the touchdown drives.
if they're not turning it over, you can live with that. You can take that.
Yeah, and they've got to be. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, the first drive, 3 plays. The last drive, just the kneel downs. But it was 11, 9, 10, 8, 13, 8, 7, 7. That's what they got to do. Tyreek's going to have to run some 12-yard ins. He's just that's just how it's going to happen. But they got the Raiders to come up a little bit, and there was that play. There was a 3rd and 2, and I forgot which quarter it was. It set up a field goal, I think. It was a 3rd and 2, and Tyreek kind of ran like he was kind of going to do a slant in, and then came out to the sideline a little bit. And it was probably a 25, 30-yard gain, perfectly placed ball. That's the stuff. It used to be sort of like they were all missiles, and then, they'd go underneath if they had to. And now I think they've got to go underneath and then, hit the missiles later if they can.
Part of that.
It was funny, though. Oh, go ahead, Sam.
Well, I thought it was interesting that Andy Reid talked about the way that the Raiders defended him, because we've talked about the fact that every team is defending the Chiefs the same every week, and the Raiders were different. Yeah. They played a lot of the single high safety, and Andy Reid got really into that. But he also had a comment that I really found interesting about that. He said playing against Gus Bradley. Of course, he used to be with the Chargers, but playing against Gus Bradley, that's kind of how all this started, is what he said. Because they showed Patrick Mahomes a lot of zone. And so a lot of what the Chiefs are seeing isn't just the 2 deep shell, but it's zone underneath. But Gus Bradley mixes a lot more, and he played a lot of different defenses. But it's just interesting that he credited him as sort of starting this pattern that we've seen, and that's the defense that the Chiefs tore up tonight.
Well, all right, guys, let's wind it down. Dallas Cowboys next week, before the last game before the bye. That I don't know if anybody was more impressive. As impressive as the Chiefs were, what the Cowboys did to the Falcons was just obliterated them. So they beat the Falcons by 40 a week after trailing the Broncos by 30. So who knows who knows what Cowboys team is coming to Kansas City. But I certainly like the way the Chiefs are playing now, like the direction. It's tonight was a little bit like it used to be, and the Chiefs will take that. The first place Chiefs, by the way, and if the season ended today, they'd be the number 4 seed in the playoffs. So. All right, guys, really appreciate you staying up with us. Hey, all of you, Larry and Frederick and Barbara and Tommy, all you guys hanging out with us, staying up late. It's 12:40 here in America, so it's time for us to turn the lights out and go to bed. So for Sam, and Vahe, and for Beth Welsh, our producer, thanks a lot. Join us Friday morning. We'll be talking about the Chiefs-Cowboys game.